Muito bem, é simplesmente fascinante, né? Dá vontade de a gente ficar aqui horas e horas e horas ouvindo Satyendra contar as experiências enriquecedoras. Eu tenho vontade de ficar horas e horas e horas conversando com ele, mas seria muito egoísmo de minha parte. Eu vou passar a palavra a vocês. Hoje, excepcionalmente, nós vamos circular os microfones, porque vocês não tiveram tempo de formular as perguntas. Amanhã faremos sempre perguntas inscritas para ganhar agilidade. Nós temos um tempo muito exíguo para formulá-las. Vou pedir para fazermos, então, bloquinhos de 2 perguntas, que vocês sejam muito sucintos na formulação, muito objetivos, só salientando aqui algumas das questões que poderiam ser mais exploradas nesse bate-bola, como a do trabalho colaborativo, desse frescor de olhar e, sobretudo, e por isso eu me referi a ele como professor, essa vontade, essa quase voracidade e humildade de querer aprender sempre de todos e com todos, né? Então, acho que isso é uma questão fundamental quando a gente fala tanto de economia criativa, dessa capacidade de transformar a criatividade, de entendê-la como recurso econômico, de ter novas propostas, inclusive na linha do que comentávamos antes, de fazer com que tenhamos formas de transformar os problemas estruturais do Brasil para um outro contexto de país. Gostaria de que vocês pegassem os microfones a 2 colegas circulando. Quem não estiver disposto, senão eu vou fazer todas as perguntas aqui, eu não tenho problema com isso. Para a gente poder aproveitar a presença do Satyendra nesses 15 minutinhos antes do congraçamento que teremos. Pessoal que puder participar, vai ser uma delícia aqui no Palácio da Liberdade e também uma forma de poder interagir com os colegas em virtude do conteúdo que foi levantado. Alguma pergunta de pronto? Começo com a primeira? Ok. Right? Vou começar com a primeira. E vou fazer em português para, se os tradutores não me fuzilarem com os olhos, porque eu tenho dificuldade de reduzir a velocidade da fala. Mas, Satyendra, eu gostaria que você, por favor, nos descrevesse um pouco esse processo de busca de inspirações e como você faz para perceber se algo efetivamente pode beber de tradições e de outras referências e se concretizar em um produto que atenda a uma necessidade, ainda que latente, do mercado. Como é que você consegue filtrar o que é simplesmente um fascínio, um encantamento, ou é algo que pode ter uma aplicação funcional, reproposto, relido, nos dias de hoje?
Yes, sorry about that. Yeah, that's a complicated thing, like how does one do all these things? There's no simple answer to that. I wish I had a recipe to give, but I don't. So sorry, it's a complicated thing. I think I would go back to saying that it's a continuous process. It's not just because one is working on one project, therefore you do think about that. I think it's a continuous process in terms of engaging with all these issues all the time, actually. So you think about all these things, what can something become or not. So within the process of making all those things, there are also failures, and those are big learnings, in fact, that you learn from it and you do different things. But the idea of doing all those exercises is always to eventually bring in some of those qualities into industrial products. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Algum candidato? Temos uma mãozinha ali e uma outra mãozinha lá no fundo.
Meu nome é Joana. Eu queria saber a opinião dele a respeito do design thinking no desenvolvimento da economia criativa.
Sorry, I didn't get the translation, please. Can you? Yes, I got it. I think everything and nothing at the same time. I think that's very fundamental, actually. What a design has a role in a creative economy. I think often design is overused word. and especially we have to watch out when you use word design. Actually, often it's used in a very manner that it becomes using design for the sake of using design word. I think design in a fundamental sense, if it's applied and used in a proper context, from public policy making all the way up to industrial manufacturing, can have a tremendous contribution. But just to make it as a veneer, as a kind of a top layer to make it look beautiful, I think that's where it fails. And there's always a danger in this kind of debates and talk that it can become just a rhetoric of another talking about creative economy and all those. I think we need to engage with the solid projects which have substance, project which has to be engaged and supported by people from organizations, by investors, by funders, by policymakers, which can become real. And once that become real, we can talk about examples. So I rather engage and create example than talk about what design can do for a creative economy.
São dois, se me permite uma complementação, são dois termos bastante amplos e muito utilizados, né? Tanto design quanto economia criativa, que em si podem abarcar tudo ou nada. Mas eu acho que há dois olhares muito complementares também nessa questão. O primeiro deles é entender design como uma indústria criativa, ou seja, um setor criativo que é transversal a todas as outras, inclusive, né? Mas, sobretudo, talvez essa questão tão especial e tão rica de ilustrações que Satyendra nos trouxe do frescor do olhar, do conceito, de transformar o que lá está em algo novo, né? Isso também é muito a pegada justo da economia criativa, no sentido de como é que a criatividade pode se converter em algo que tenha uma concretização econômica. Você não para simplesmente na ideia, para no encantamento, no fascínio, e não se concretiza efetivamente no mercado. Por favor.
Desculpa, eu não sei. Aqui, ó, de novo. No mesmo lugar.
Cadê você?
Isso. Eu não sei se a tradução foi direitinho, mas eu perguntei especificamente sobre design thinking, que é uma metodologia do design, como que o design thinking iria play a role em economia criativa. Essa foi a pergunta. Bem específica.
Não, eu acredito que tenha sido, eu vou lhe passar a palavra de novo, mas o design thinking como metodologia, eu acho que acabou sendo abarcado dentro de uma forma mais ampla, que é o pensamento do design, né? E não especificamente a metodologia.
Yes, can you please translate that?
Yeah, if you methodology of design thinking, if it can really be applied to foster the creative economy, not just thinking of design, but specifically
Yeah,
methodology.
I think yes, actually, and I think that is true, and probably there are many cases one could think about, and there are examples, and definitely the simple answer to that is yes. But again, talking in a hypothesis that this could be done, that could be done, I would rather say, I think one can only see that when it's engaged in a proper way, and you can have a concrete project actually. There are many examples. It has been used in a social development. It's used in a creating, let's say, different sets of models. Actually, we did once a project in Namibia where it was creating a facility for naturally disabled ladies, actually, to give them some kind of possibilities to engage in creation. And these kind of things, there are lots of endless possibilities, and one could talk about design thinking in that way. What I'm fascinated by is actually is to create those possibilities in a real life situation, actually, and to engage with that. And all these models one could talk about, and one could have lots of debate about it. But these things are complicated in a sense of just talking about it, actually. And I rather prefer engaging with them and talking, and definitely design thinking does help in many contexts, actually. Yeah.
Ok. Joia. Mudou de ideia? Já respondeu. Então volta o microfone para o nosso colega, de quem eu tirei, por favor. Escravos de jogo. Isso é trabalho colaborativo também, olha lá, todo mundo envolvido. Pronto, por favor.
É breve, Ana Carla. Eu queria saber, na opinião dele, quando que o design é autoralidade, né, trabalho autoral, e quando que o design é conhecimento coletivo, conhecimento universal, né, quando que um se apropria do outro, quando que como que esse conhecimento esses diferentes conhecimentos se dialogam.
No.
Não, tá sem fone. Ele tá
When design is okay. Yeah. No, I think that's a very important question. Actually, these things are not conflicting for me in terms of the authorship as well as the collective engagement and collaboration. I think it varies. Often, what happens in a discourse of design, one or the other get highlighted, and one is seen great, the other one is seen not so great. I think in a history of humanity, there has always been authorship in every kind of field of creation, whether it's poetry, writing, filmmaking, let alone design. And there has always been a collective effort as well. And both of these are very, very valid model, and they can exchange and they can talk together. Unfortunately, what happens sometimes in a media, sometimes in a discourse of design, one is get highlighted more than the other. And I think the contribution of both is very, very critical. As much as I could also say extremely provocative things here, and has been said before me, and it's not me who's saying that a committee can do nothing better. I mean, this is not the right thing to say, but I will say that to wake people up, because nothing gets done, it gets bureaucratically talked again and again, you hardly see the result. That happens often in many, many public projects. On the other hand, a creator just talking for his own sake and trying to flex his muscles to talk about creator alone, that's also fallacy. That's also another extreme. I think what is interesting thing is if there's a specific creative contribution and some kind of, let's say, engagement with a given situation, and if that comes from an independent mind or that comes from a collective mind, I have no trouble. Those are very valid things, and they've always been valid in the history of humanity all the time. And we don't have to make any differentiation right now, actually. And those both models are very much valid, and we have to cherish those. And those who are capable of contributing independently, they need to be cherished. And those who are contributing and collectively making something great happen, because a lot of things what we have around the world is a result of a lot of collective thinking and collective contribution, and that need to be acknowledged as well. So both are valid and both need to be engaged. Yeah.
Temos tempo para mais uma. Alguém se habilita?
Oi.
Cadê?
Eu aqui.
Ah, tá aqui, ó.
Eu queria só, com base em duas análises, né, tem um filme muito interessante, um documentário que chama Stuff, História das Coisas, e ele coloca claramente que na decadência do mundo de 1930, o designer foi, eu diria, o grande salvador da pátria para que você pudesse fazer a roda girar na economia, e o consumo virou o espírito, o consumo virou o desejo, o consumo virou sinônimo de alegria, e hoje nós nos deparamos no nosso século XXI, se o Brasil, se o mundo chegar ao nível de consumo dos Estados Unidos, por exemplo, nós precisaríamos de 5 planetas. Eu gostei muito da sua contextualização da necessidade do pensar, de um processo cultural. E eu queria saber, você que anda o mundo inteiro, dá diversas conferências, se você está vendo a força do designer com essa capacidade de produzir escala no pensamento e produzir escala na produção para chegarmos a uma economia sustentável.
I think that's the first point I tried to talk. Actually, thank you for this question. Actually, the model of progress, what we propagate and kind of ideas people have around the world, is a very kind of a linear stereotypical model, and somehow it gets consciously or subconsciously followed all around the world. And Brazil, as well as India, is in exactly same race right now. There is some kind of a silly national pride, allow me to say that, and I would say that without any fear here, that sometimes we have to check those tendencies in balance, actually. And what happens is, actually, in this process of development, some false dreams are chased all the time, actually, and the real questions are never asked till they become too late. Like you rightly said, if you become in that kind of consumer-oriented society, it will be a disaster. I mean, the kind of population we talk in India, if it turn out to be a consumer-oriented society, the kind of model we have in front of us, it will be a huge disaster, not for the country alone, but for the entire planet, probably. Now, that does not mean that everybody has to go back to cave and live in the caves. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is we have to look at another possibility. What is that possibility? We still don't have one answer for that. And what does that mean by not having a one answer is that there's hardly been an attempt done so far. Allow me to say that there's not been an attempt done to try and find out, actually, can we create another ways of creating object which will have a different ways of lasting, different kind of cultural quality, different kind of resonance people can have with it, that they will not trash it, they will cherish it, so on and so forth. Now, this again on one hand can be also criticized as a very romantic idea. On the other hand, we also have to test this new ground, actually. And the new ground nobody else can test unless we ourselves do it, actually. So again, all these new models, and I hope this conference lead to this kind of new thinking, and I hope some people in the audience and some people from here get inspired to engage on these ideas and really courageously take this challenge to think about that new model and try to make it work. And I think that is a challenge for all of us. Nobody has an answer for that. I never seen one, and I don't think anybody has a right recipe for that. I think the most important thing is how we on a very micro level at the same time engaging on a bigger vision project, trying to see how we can balance this act and try and take really real projects on hand and try to act on it, rather than talk about one grand solution, which I don't think there is one.
Bom, infelizmente nós não temos mais tempo para perguntas, pelo menos não oficialmente, porque agora espero que todos possam se unir a nós no anúncio para o convite para o coquetel que seguirá.
Agradecemos a participação da curadora Ana Carla Fonseca e do palestrante Satyendra Pakhalé.
Thank you. Obrigado.
Informamos que a nossa programação terá início amanhã pela manhã, a partir das 9 horas. Agradecemos a participação de todos e convidamos para um coquetel que será servido nos jardins do Palácio da Liberdade. Uma boa noite a todos.